Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to be going over this 3D printed guitar neck. It is attached to a Prusacaster body, and what sets this neck apart from your traditional guitar neck is that it's 3D printed. Aside from it being 3D printed, what gives it its strength is this aluminum extrusion that runs the entire length of the neck. Now, this was found on the website cults3d.com and is made by a company called Filatone. Now, would I recommend this guitar neck? For most use cases, no, because most musicians will find this guitar neck to be extremely uncomfortable. But if you take the comfort factor out of it, it's actually pretty good and it works fairly well. So this video is going to be separated into a couple different portions. The first portion being the 3D printed aspects of this guitar neck. The second part will be more of my thoughts and opinions on the neck itself. And then the third part will be some recordings of this guitar itself, so you can better decide if this is a project that you want to take up or not. The model was found on cults3d.com, made by a company called Filatone. This is a Stratocaster style guitar neck, and I did have to make a couple modifications to the model, but I'll touch a little bit more on that. This is printed off of a Bamboo P1S printer. The print time was roughly 15 hours to get all the parts printed off. It was printed off in PETG-CF or PETG carbon fiber, and the colors are Marsala red and midnight blue. On the camera, it doesn't really show too well the sheen and the shine of the filament, but in the right light, it looks really, really good. So when you purchase the model, it comes with instructions as well as a bill of materials. The instructions were good, and they cover most everything pertaining to building this guitar, with one big caveat that it does not show you how to install the frets. It links to a video and kind of a warning in the instructions that installing the frets is a fairly laborious process, and that is what separates making this a guitar neck from a good guitar neck. But I'll touch a little bit more on that here in a second as well. The parts printed well and everything fit in the extrusion. So you print off the parts, and then these parts, they slot into the channels of the extrusion. And that went well. I don't think I had any misprints or reprints when I printed this model. However, I did fairly meticulously calibrate this filament to be able to print this as well as it did. I also did use some silk PLA for these inlays. And then the rest of the guitar neck, it uses standard tuners. Yeah, so that's the 3D printing aspects of this guitar neck itself. Now, as far as the neck and how it actually plays, so starting, I guess, with the good, one of the things that I really like about this, and I don't think I can really show it too well, but the action on the strings is very good. It's consistent. It plays very, very well as far as the string height, which is a shame because the rest of the guitar neck is so uncomfortable. But the action is probably my favorite part about this guitar, and that's in big thanks to the use of the aluminum extrusion. This bolts on as just your standard guitar neck. There's nothing too crazy about it. I did modify the file so it would fit the neck pocket a little easier, but other than that, that was the only changes that I made. But other than that, there's not a whole lot to really like about this guitar neck, unfortunately. So one of my biggest gripes about this is the sharp angles that were designed into this neck, and I find it extremely uncomfortable. If you're just playing on one spot on the fretboard, it's not too bad, But if you start moving up and down the neck a lot, it really becomes apparent that this thing is just super uncomfortable. The second biggest issue that I have with this guitar neck is the string tree itself, and that is because it's plastic and it's supposed to hold all of these strings. What I've found is that the tension on these strings makes this bow, and that largely affects tuning and tuning stability. Now, one of the biggest questions that I get is how well do these guitars stay in tune? And my reply is not great. They don't stay in tune that well. And even if you just torque on the neck when you're playing, it can affect the tuning of the entire guitar. So it's not meant for extensive gigging or rough handling. Me, I personally use this guitar to record, so I'm just sitting at my computer playing a couple riffs and stuff like that. So I'm not really beating on the guitar that much. So for my use case, it works well. But if you're looking for a guitar to play shows multiple times a week, you're probably going to want something different. One of the things that's kind of a neither here nor there is this is actually the guitar nut. You 3D print the guitar nut, and then you insert the fret wire into the guitar nut, and that is your guitar nut. I believe in the cigar box world that is called a zero fret. So that's just one thing that's neither here nor there. It just is what it is. Um, and then the last thing that I really don't like about this neck, and it's just inherent with the design, is that there's no truss rod. So the action that you get is what you're going to get. So if you decide to print this off, it is imperative that you let all the parts cool down properly and fully before you remove them from the build plate to ensure that they don't warp. If your neck goes out of warp, which I don't know why it would because it's all attached to the aluminum extrusion, but if for some reason the neck does warp, you're not going to be able to get it back to the way it was because there is no truss rod. So that's pretty much my quick overview of this guitar neck. It was a fun project up until the fretting, which was nerve-wracking because I didn't want to scratch the plastic and everything, and that's a whole other ball of wax trying to figure out how to fret this neck. If you've fretted guitar necks before, you'll probably have an easier time than I did, but this was my first time ever installing frets on a guitar neck, so I had considerable difficulty getting these frets installed, and they're still not perfect. They still need extra filing, but I just lack the proper tools to get this done in a way that I would feel happy with. Um, Overall, it works and it plays great. It's intonated. Yeah, I think it was a worthwhile effort, and it really makes this guitar stand out from your typical Prusacaster because I can say that this is almost fully 3D printed. So now I will play a couple audio recordings for you to listen to so you can kind of better figure out if this is a project that you want to take on or not. But yeah, thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below and I'll answer them as best I can. Thanks.